Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Amaka Charles here, and today I'll be showing you guys steps on how I make a glueless frontal wig. As you guys can see, I have not used any glue to hold down my lace. I only laid my edges to the guts. Before we get into the details of this video, I'd like to ask you beautiful ladies and fine men to subscribe to my channel. Give this video a thumbs up if you like it, and let me know if you enjoyed it in the comment section as well. Now let's get right into business. Hello and welcome to my kitchen. The hair I'm going to be using today is from the Belle store, a hair company in Nigeria, and this is their Ubzek curls in the length 14 inches. You guys, the curls on this hair is so healthy and gorgeous. I've actually had this already made to a wig by someone else, but the cap was too small, so it will always slide off my head. And I decided, okay, I'm going to take it all apart and make it into a wig myself. The weft is so thin and this hair is so lightweight. I've had it for so long and it's still so lush. Look at those curls, you guys. All I do is put some water on it and I'm good to go. I'm using a 14-inch 13 by 6 frontal as well, and as you can see, I already bleached the knots and plucked it a little bit just so it can look a bit more natural. And let's go into tools. For our tools, we're going to be using T-pins, we're going to use hair clips, and we're also going to be using surgical needles or curved needles. We're going to be using yarn thread. This thread I actually got from the African store, and I really like how this one feels. And then we're going to be using elastic band. This elastic band is from Walmart, but I'm pretty sure you can get them at the dollar store as well. We're going to be using some chalk or Sharpie. I have chalk, so I use chalk, and a tape measure from the dollar store as well. And my wig cap, this wig cap I got from Amazon. I'm not very sure about this wig cap, but I did get it in a size large just to be safe. It comes with elastic bands or hooks at the edge, but I use my own elastic band because it helps me measure, you know, how tight I want it to be. And then I used a bald mannequin head. We'll talk about this later. Okay guys, and my wig clamp, which is actually a C clamp, I just hook it up to my kitchen island and that works for me just fine. The height is adjustable as well. And then we're going to move on to the setup. The first thing we're going to do is take our frontal and fold it into half. That way we know the exact center of our frontal and we'll be able to place it properly on the mannequin head so it sits right on our head. Then I'm going to take my chalk, or you can use a Sharpie, and I'm going to measure exactly where that point is just to guide me when I place it on the mannequin head. Now I'm taking my tape rule and I'm measuring from my front hairline to my back hairline. I had already measured the circumference of my head and it was 22.5 inches, so I know exactly what I'm working with. Take your chalk and mark that point in front and behind. This would help you when you place your wig cap on the mannequin head. Next, I'm going to go from ear to ear. This is also in the bid to make sure you get your exact measurements. Then I'm going to place my wig cap on my mannequin head and secure with T-pins. Make sure to stretch your wig cap up until you get to the points that you have marked to ensure that it sits properly on your head. Now I'm just placing my frontal on my mannequin and I'm kind of making sure that the center aligns with the center of my mannequin head. Then I'm going to secure it down with my T-pins. T-pins are so handy. You use them throughout the process of making a wig. Behind, as you can see, I'm trying to pull my frontal to kind of touch the band on my wig cap, but it wasn't working because this is an old frontal, and whoever made it into a wig the first time kind of messed it up. So if you have a brand new frontal, make sure when you stretch it from behind, it touches the band of your wig cap, especially if you're using the dome mesh wig cap. That will be very helpful. This is just so that when you cut off the excess underneath the frontal, it will still stay in place. Now I'm taking my wig clips and I'm just going to clip back the hair, just clip it away so it's easy for me to stitch. I'm going in with my needles. I only threaded my needle with one thread. That way it's not bulky when you're sewing. And if you notice, I'm a bit light-handed when I start sewing my frontal in, because if you go too fast, then it might just be too bulky. So this is how I secure my first stitch. I pass my needle through the hoop that I have made from my thread and I pull it really tight so it's nice and secure. I like to do that twice, but I'm not sure if I did it twice in this video. But if you can do that twice, do that twice. Otherwise, I create a loop with my other hand and I pass it through. I'm just going to show you guys that again so you can actually see what I did there. First, you want to lift it up with your thumb, like your other thumb, and then you take your needle and put it right after that loop. That way when you pull it out, it has already made a nice loop to secure your sewing. This is how I sew my wig the entire time. It's so easy, it's so fast, and it's really, really durable. I have now come to the end of my frontal. As you can see, I couldn't get my frontal to touch the band of my wig cap, which is what I was trying to explain earlier. So if you have a brand new frontal, make sure it touches the band of your wig cap. Now I'm just going to secure my frontal. The way I secure my frontal is pretty easy. I just create my loop like I've always done. I pass it through the loop and I try to go through that loop 2 or 3 times. This creates some kind of reinforcements and makes sure the frontal doesn't rip or loosen or anything like that. I do this, I think, twice. You can do it as many times as you want, as long as it doesn't become bulky. now I'm just going to take my chalk and I'm going to use that to draw lines as to where I'm going to put my wefts. This makes it really easy for you to place your wefts and secure them down with T-pins. I'd seen this first on someone's YouTube channel. I can't really remember, but I remember trying it and it was so easy for me, so I just do it all the time. You can also do this if you're going to be sewing your wig with a sewing machine as well. That really helps. So I'm just going to draw these lines all the way to the top of my frontal, and then I'm going to go ahead and place my weft at the very bottom, secure it with T-pins and sew it down. I'm going to sew down my weft exactly how I had done the frontal at first. Only difference is I'm going to pass it through the weft alone. I like to knot my thread with the weft first before I pass it to the wig cap. It's just something I do. You don't have to do it. You can go to the wig cap right away and do the loop thing. But this is how I do it. This is how I've been doing it, and my wigs have been durable. So I did the loop thing and then I passed it through the mesh and I just continue to sew in the loops exactly how I did my frontal. Now I'm going to show you guys how I flip my tracks. So what I would usually do is, still secured with a T-pin, I would take the track, flip it over, and then secure it again with a T-pin. You guys, it is very important for you to keep securing these tracks with T-pins because that's the only way it's going to be easy for you to get exactly what you want. Even sewing it is easier once you have secured it down with T-pins. Once I've secured my tracks, I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to literally scoop the lace from the other edge, put it in my loop, twist about 2 or 3 times to secure that fold, and tug it really tight so it is flat. Now, if your fold is not flat, you're going to keep seeing all these bulky bumps in your wig. So make sure when you scoop it, just like as I did, make sure when you pull it, you tug it really tight and it's flat. And then I start to sew in loops again backwards. Now, creating the loop when you're going backward is not as difficult because if you're sewing backwards, as you can see, you already have a loop. All you have to do is pass it through the other thread and pull it out, and you have your rope. Okay, I'm going to show you guys how I flip my track again one more time before I speed this video up. So I've gotten to the end where I want to flip my track, and it's the same technique like I did on the other side. You flip your track, take your T-pins and secure your T-pins. Don't mind me putting my T-pins and my needle in my mouth. I'm a village woman, but you know, it's sanitized, it's my stuff, so it works for me. You do what works for you, okay? So I have just flipped my tracks, and now I am setting it down with my T-pins. Then I'm going to go ahead and scoop that weft with my lace so I can secure the fold nice and flat. Now I have laid all my tracks all the way up to the top of my frontal. As you can see, it is nice and flat. I have been flipping as I go. I did have some wefts that were cut because it was made into a wig before, but most times I was always flipping and making sure that flip was nice and flat. As you can see, there is no space between the last weft and your frontal. That's what you want. If you made it this far, give yourself a pat on the back. You're doing great. Now I'm just securing that very last weft. You can tie, make a knot as many times as you want, maybe twice or 3 times. Just make sure it's nice and tight. Then I'm going to go ahead and cut the excess weft. You guys, I had so much excess weft by the time I was done with this wig, which I think was a bit frustrating because I really liked how the wig looked before I had to remake it. It was nice and full, but at the end of this video, when I brushed this hair out, it was still very full, so I had no worries. I was okay with the volume that I got, and that's absolutely fine. Now we're going to cut off the excess wig cap underneath the frontal. If you remember in the beginning of this video, I had said, you know, this is something I wasn't going to, I was going to talk about. This is where I had the problem. Both the wig cap and the mannequin head was just such a big problem for me when I was trying to cut off the lace, but I was able to remedy the situation later. So if you have the chance, make sure you get a mesh dome cap, wig cap, and those block wig heads that they use is the canvas one. Those ones are actually the best that you can use. So I'm pretty sure the next time I'm going to be making a wig, I am definitely not using this mannequin head. Okay, so I'm just cutting this excess wig cap nice and slow, making sure I don't mess up my frontal. Now this is the biggest part of this video, is how you place your band. I put my elastic band somewhere between my ear and the middle of my head on the lace. Now some people wouldn't recommend this, but this is actually how you achieve a glueless frontal, because when the band is really close to kind of like the, like say, middle of your head, then it pulls the lace and kind of secures it right around the perimeter of your head. So I had already measured this elastic band around my head, and so now I'm just sewing it in. I'm using the same method as I would sew my wefts earlier in this video, and I'm making sure to secure it by sewing backwards when I get to the end before I tie it down. Now I'm going to move this elastic band, pass it through the front. You don't have to go to the back. Obviously, when you're sewing it in, you can't like flip it behind. You have to flip it in front and then secure it again. Trust me guys, this is the best way to achieve a glueless frontal. Don't be scared of sewing the lace. It's not going to ruin the lace. It hasn't ruined my lace. It still looks good and it is nice, and make sure it is nice and secure. You always want to sew backwards to make sure it is nice and secure. Now I'm going to go ahead and do my edges. Well, not really do my edges, just, you know, cut out the edges and prepare for install. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you subscribe, hit that like button, and let me know in the comment section how you're going to be trying out every technique that I have showed you today. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.